Namaste and good evening, everyone. I, Ritika Gupta, Assistant Director at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav Evam Niti Anusandhan Sansthan, extend my heartiest welcome to you all to IMPRI #That Policy Talk. Today we are here for a panel discussion on how to resolve unemployment problem in India. This discussion is being organized by Center for Work and Welfare at IMPRI, along with Center for Development, Communication and Studies in Jaipur. I would now like to request Dr. Arjun Kumar, who is Director at IMPRI, to take the proceedings forward. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you everyone, and for joining this very pertinent panel discussion on how to resolve unemployment problem in India. And we have a very distinguished set of panelists to deliberate over this topic. And the chair for the session is Prof Sunil Ray, and Ria will do the introduction. Ria.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ria, and I'm a researcher at IMPRI, and I'm currently pursuing my master's from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Hyderabad campus. I would like to welcome Professor Ray and all the other panelists, and I would like to give a brief description. I would like to start the discussion with a brief description of Professor Ray. Now, Professor Sunil Ray has served as the director of AN Sinha Institute of Social Sciences, Patna. Prior to that, he was Dean of Social Sciences and head Center for Economic Studies and Policy at the Central University of South Bihar. He was professor of economics at the Institute of Development Studies, Jaipur, and has taught at National Institute of Rural Development, Hyderabad. He obtained his PhD degree through Institute for Social and Economic Change, ISEC, Bangalore, and was a visiting fellow at the Institute of Development Studies, Sussex, UK, and Institute of Oriental Studies in Russia. Besides, he has visited several countries on international assignments. He was awarded Senior Fellowship by the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research and Indo-German Research Cooperation at Max Weber Stiftung to work on alternative development paradigm. Professor Ray has 35 years of experience in research and teaching in the field of environmental economics, political economy of development, rural development, and institutional economics. He was part of the review mission team of the European Commission and has worked on several consulting assignments with the World Bank and other international organizations. His papers have been published extensively in reputed national and international journals, such as the Economic and Political Weekly, International Journal of Ecological Economics, Asian Survey, Savings and Development, Capitalism, Nature and Socialism, among others. He's authored several books, including Industrial Growth and Protection in India, Natural Resources Organization and Technology Linkages, Agricultural Services and the Poor, Management of Natural Resources, Institutions for Sustainable Livelihood, and Theorizing Cohesive Development, an Alternative Paradigm. Presently, Professor Ray is an advisor at IMPRI, Delhi, as well as CDECS, Jaipur. Welcome, Professor Ray.
Okay. Yes, welcome, sir. Professor Ray, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Right. So with that and your permission, we'd also like to introduce all of our panelists also. Ramya?
Yes.
Kindly
Yes.
introduce all the panelists also. Yeah.
A very good evening, everyone. I am Ramya Kathal, researcher at IMPRI, Delhi. So it's my honor to introduce and welcome such a distinguished panel. As the panelists for today's web talk, we have Professor Dev Nathan. He is an eminent professor, research director at Gendev Center for Research and Innovation, Gurugram. Welcome, sir. We have Professor R B Bhagat. He is the professor and head of the Department of Migration and Urban Studies at the Indian Institute of Population Sciences, IIPS. Welcome, sir. We have Dr. Lenin Raghuvanshi. He is the founder and CEO of People's Vigilance Committee on Human Rights, PVCHR, an initiative of Mitra Nyas, SEWA, Varanasi. We have Miss Sonia George. She is the secretary of Self-Employed Women's Association, SEWA, Kerala. We have, welcome ma'am, we have Dr. Chandra Sekhar Shrimali. He is the educator and career counselor, member and board of management, Maharaja Ganga Singh University, Bikaner. Welcome, sir. And we have Dr. Upendra Singh, director at Center for Development and Communication Studies, CDECS, Jaipur. I welcome all the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramya. So with that, I would also like to introduce the series which we have started, the State of Development Discourses, #Cohesive Development. And the idea really is to come out with solutions and talk about what can be done, because we have so much theory and experiences. So really focusing on the impact part is the important thing. And the cohesive development, sir has written a lot about it, Sunil sir. So before giving the floor to Sunil sir, I would quickly make a presentation on the topic today. Ritika, have you started? Yes. So as we all know, the unemployment has become a big issue in the recent years, especially in India, owing to the demographic dividend, or many people also say disasters also. So let me quickly tell you about some of the employment statistics in India. So we have Census of India, national sample surveys. Earlier used to come with employment and unemployment surveys, quinquennial surveys, now which has been started as periodic labor force survey, which gives quarterly estimates from last 2-3 years. It has been recently instituted. Then we have also some of the labor statistics from Labor Bureau Chandigarh. Apart from that, we also have many registries of the government. For example, we have Employment Exchange, and it reports around 3 crores, 2 to 3 crores of the numbers, keeps changing, administration data. Last year, we also had some migration and skill development registry. Some of the data, real-time data we are getting from there also. There are also many private databases. For example, NCR has IIPS, CMI come up with very updated data, that they have a good series data, and only data which is now periodic and large scale. Other than that, there are also many private databases and surveys. For example, APU surveys. IMPRI also does many surveys on the same. Other than that, we also have many government databases, or I would say ministries, MIS, Management Information Services data, for example, EPFO, ESIC, Manrega registries, and others. And owing to that, it also gives the focus for the number of jobs and other things. There are also many corporate related data from portals like Naukri.com and others, LinkedIn, others, from where many numbers are coming. But of course, for the formal and especially focusing on service and manufacturing things. And there are also many independent HR related outlets which also publishes some numbers. So when we are talking about unemployment in India, as we can see, the decade of 2000, and after that, the unemployment, the trend has been declining, and the standard mark of the unemployment rate was around 3 to 4, hovering around 4%, and that has been declining. Other than that, one of the most important feature what happened in the last 2 decades was the declining labor force of the women, which is very much highlighted. And as we all know, the demographic dividend, it's also bulging, and a lot of youth workforce is getting into our labor force, which really remains one of the, I would say, not discrepancy, but a conundrum, because our the overall labor force is sticking to around 48-50 crore for quite a long time. So that statistics is also not very clear. But we all know that how many each year people are joining the workforce, around 10 million. 1 crore is the number, or those who are passing 10th, 12th, those number also, those education statistics, and also those are coming. Next slide. So this is recent numbers which we thought to show you what has been the condition of the unemployment situation. And this is the website of CMI, unemploymentinIndia.cmi.com. As we can see from last 3-4 years, the what has been, just show from 2017 to there, from there. As you can see, The unemployment rate, as it was hovering around 4-5% in recent times, in last 2 years, it started picking up 6%, 7%. And just when the lockdown was announced, as we can see, that rate became 20-25%, and a lot of things started, but that was very obvious. In the second surge, as we can see, and then, the unemployment rate got back to its normal as things opened. And as we see in the second surge, the transport, and it was not a very, very tight lockdown. So as we can see, the unemployment rate, as CMI is reporting, was not as high as the first wave. And again, with the recent statistics, we can see that again, it is again coming back. In terms of the types of employment, daily wage workers, salaried and self-employed, daily wage workers has been most impacted, and the calculation of unemployment and others also remains very fragile from that. For that, Pradhan Mantri Swanidhi, Street Vendor Yojana, and many other things has also come. One of the most important thing also which is coming is the women unemployment, and unemployment of the women, youth and marginalized classes, especially Dalits and tribals. Next slide, Ritika. So there are various issues and challenges which we are sure our panelists would highlight upon. There are many employment statistics and policy related issues. For example, industrial policy, employment policy. Prof Dev Nathan will, I'm sure, touch upon industry and MSME other parts. The lack of policy and statistical architecture is one of the most important bottleneck towards dealing this issue. Youth unemployment is rising, and we all know, but in the terms of quantum or what is the solution, it's not getting very clear. And Lenin sir is also focusing on from ground level how to deal with it, or what youth is thinking about it. And so we look forward to learning more. There are also acute issues of female unemployment. There is also disguised unemployment, underemployment. Many things are coming, and with the lockdowns and the pandemic issue we are in, the livelihood really becomes an important issue. So we are sure that we'll focus on all this. And with that, I hand over the proceedings to Prof Sunil Ray to give his opening remarks, and then invite our panelists further. Prof Ray, over to you. So please unmute yourself, Sunil sir. Please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Arjun. First of all, I must thank you for giving me this opportunity to to be associated with such enlightened panelists to initiate a discussion or dialogue on this severest problem today the country like India is facing. Okay, now with a nice, very fruitful background, let me explain. Let me say that I am very privileged to welcome the distinguished panelists for the discussion how to resolve the unemployment crisis of a country like India. Before the panelists begin their presentation of their views, I would like to express some of my basic concerns before you. You see this, first of all, let me tell you this forum, which is being created by IMPRI, Dr. Arjun Kumar, is essentially searching for always some alternative understanding, or it attempts to demystify some of the theoretical puzzles have been confusing the people, intellectuals, community for quite some time, ever since we got independence, and reality of the truth is certainly not going to come out of all that. So this forum is addressing one of such problems like this. I mean, this is the sixth in the series. Number of people have been intellectuals, have been able to speak out and all that, trying to very nearer to what is called the truth, the reality, a new theoretical construct they have been attempting to achieve. And this is one of the objectives for which this particular program is being taken up on unemployment. This particular topic is being chosen. Now, let me tell you my basic concern. The first is that, taking a cue from what I was telling just a minute ago, we want to remind us that we are not engaging ourselves to have another round of theoretical debate on employment. So much of water has flown. And this right from what is called, we the academicians are especially the economists very much inclined, to resolve the problems like this through solving the theoretical puzzles, sitting in the ivory tower, creating or sort of building castles in the air. Have been doing it. We have been finding our engagement continuously with that kind of a thing. So the question is that all that I want to say, this is the market economy in which we are living, and it's being guided by the the neoclassical, the mainstream economics discourse, primarily is the neoclassical economics. And the prescription of the neoclassical economists against the Keynesian one, those who have been the students of economics, they know the falling wage rate and so on and so forth. And the Keynesian economy, this and that has been there. But despite of all that, now what my warning is that if we get into this one, because so many literature, and after that, of course, you had Milton Friedman's thesis, which is against Keynesian kind of a thing. So the natural rate of employment, it might increase if the state support is there, and therefore it could be inflationary. So we all, and Kelesky's thesis, we all continuously economics getting into this kind of thing, expanding their ideas, trying to find out the fault with the market economy and so on and so forth, and resolving the crisis by suggesting certain things within the same framework. And that has been the story for the last 70 years after independence. Now, what is the situation? Now, today, this 70% of the whole estimation assumes 70% of the people in India, a working population, their wage rate is too low, and is despite that you have the soaring in unemployment problem, low wage rate, but soaring unemployment problem is going on side by side. And that's its hollowness of this kind of a model of change or employment or development, whatever you call, is exposed very badly, miserably during the lockdown, when it's 40 crores of migrant growth, 1/3 of the total population of India was suffering only to struggling how to survive in this planet Earth. That is the story that is there with us. So this is where we are all, and at the same time, even now also, look at during the Manmohan Singh, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the prime minister, that was the time when the idea was pushed, growth, growth, and growth. Increase the rate of growth, more growth, and it will automatically take care of employment situation. It didn't happen. We had jobless growth. We have Narega and all of that. And of course, to a certain extent, disguised unemployment in agriculture being tackled by that one, but certainly did not address the problem of what is called unemployment, especially educated unemployment. And that went on. And after that, even today also, Niti Aayog has been talking about what's the growth rate of this one. Nobody denies the growth rate. Nobody denies that what growth should, efficacy of the growth and all that is very important. But then growth for whom, for what, is something that needs to be addressed and not being addressed. So automatically it's been taken, market takes care of. Market doesn't take care of that. That is what has been proved by what is called 70 years of experience. Look at the latest, now just a few minutes ago, Dr. Arjun presented a very interesting, very important data set. And that is something speaks voluminous. But let me add up to that one. In the pre-COVID-19, that is 2019, unemployment rate in India was 23%. Whereas Vietnam, it is 6.6%, Pakistan 7.8%, China 11.6%, Nepal 4.5%. East India, unemployment was much higher than its neighboring Asian countries. This is one story. And the second, you look at the growth rate. This is in 2020 when the pandemic is there. And at that time, India's growth performance is miserable, -8%, whereas Bangladesh 3.8%, China 1.9%, Vietnam 1.6%, Bhutan 0.6%, Pakistan 0.4%. The question is that this kind of a dilemma, what has been with this protagonist of the market economics, have been market liberalization they talk about and all that. I'm not getting into that. The protagonists keep on talking, go on increasing the growth rate, automatically employment to take them. But the question is, growth rate, employment is not certainly responding to the kind of a growth that is taking place, and therefore unemployment problem has been soaring at a frightening scale. Now, question is that On the one hand, you find this growth rate is something which in India, look at the performance of India. It's so sad, so sad now it is. Very difficult for us to comprehend. We had a jobless growth. That is also was very different. That is also something to be criticized about. We certainly do not have such kind of a market economy where we are able to satisfy what the demand for employment to the extent that you desire for. Nothing of that kind is taking place. We are taking everything as a very what's called market is going to this, is going to solve the problem. Actually, is nothing is happening of that kind. Assuming the fact that our market economy is something very not different from the market economy that is existing in America or in the Western countries. Forget about that, is a different debate altogether. The question is that I want to remind us that what is that we need? Do you need structural transformation being led by, but not being led by the corporate capital? Or that is what suggests to be even Arthur Lewis. Those are the students of economics, they know. Do you want what kind of structural transformation? That is one thing. Is it required for a structural transformation? Let us not get into the jugglery of data of this kind of, do this one, you have the fiscal incentive, this much of, you have this interest rate decline, and do this, do that, do all kinds of what is called micro manipulations. Never nothing happened. Then what is that you need to do? We need to have a different kind of approach. That is the question. A huge policy shift do you want for transformation of the system of governance, production, investment, marketing, and or promoting different forms of personal entrepreneurship, collective entrepreneurship, or injecting a different culture of consumption? Then it's not the time for us to really get embedded with what's called, that we talk about, the catching up culture. Let's forget about it. Enough is enough. Catching up culture, the catch up. All of the thing is stop the rat race to benefit from the Western or what's called American models of development. Is it not the time for us to underline the fact that economic growth must benefit majority of the people of the country? In a market economy, we are told continuously by the protagonist of the market liberalization to have faith in the market efficiency. It has a trickle-down effect, and trickle-down effect that benefit people through employment generation. It has never happened. It has not happened. It is not going to happen, even not this trickle-down effect. So then what is the alternative that we should have? How long you search for this mystical solution of the unemployment problem, that attaining high growth in the so-called free market economy will resolve this crisis. Let us not forget ours is an agrarian economy with 80% or little more than 80% of the people marginal and small holding, agricultural holdings. And we have a huge disguised unemployment in agriculture. At the same time, a large number of people are now today, during the pandemic, are thrown out of job. Now, this is adding to the existing stock. Now, if this happens, to the dimension of the gravity of the problem is something very serious. So with these basic concerns, I would suggest, I thought that I must share before you, only to tell us, let's not get into the data, how many migrants people have been going here and there and struggling for survival. It's all known. Let us now, experts, a panelist, suggest how to get out of it. There is simplistic solutions out there. Maybe they are, may not be there, but he's leaving it to them to tell us, to enlighten us as to how to proceed and all that. Perhaps a series of meetings is going to take place, and perhaps this institution, Dr. Arjun Kumar's leadership, will take us to a different kind of a situation where we will see the process of intervention could be conceived in a manner that will be feasible. Feasible means something we are now looking at things, sitting at the ivory tower, given the situation, material conditions of living, the situation that is there to disposal, how is it possible to resolve this crisis is something which is very important for us. Thank you so much. I would like to invite Professor Dev Nathan to present his views on this one, how to resolve this unemployment crisis. Professor Dev Nathan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Ray and IMPRI. I must apologize. When I agreed, I didn't realize I had another appointment. That's why I requested Arjun if I can come up early in the presentations. And if necessary, I'll stay for the discussion for a while if you can put the questions to me soon after my presentation. Okay, I will take up only one part of the question of how to deal with unemployment. I will take up the question of manufacturing and why we are doing so poorly in manufacturing exports. Now, manufacturing is important because it has a high employment elasticity of output. And that is important, of course, for creation of employment. Now, there can be certain exports which don't have a high elasticity of output, employment elasticity. High value IT services, for instance, do not employ as many people per, say, $1 million of exports as does, say, garment exports or leather products. Now, it's important for India to increase its share in this so as to be able to increase employment. And what we need to note is that, however, of export markets in the world, global export markets, 70 to 80% are in the form of what is called global value chains. That means these are not independent exports, but as exports as part of as a production system. For instance, when India or Bangladesh, when they export garments, they do not export garments with their own brands. They export garments with a brand put, whether it is Nike or Adidas or Gap or whatever, by certain brands in the global north who give contracts for their manufacture. So that is the dominant form of exports, not of a full production of a commodity, but of part of it. For instance, right now, we are producing mobile phones in India, but we're really not doing very much in its production. We're not producing the various intermediates that go into a mobile phone. What we are doing is assembling them. But it's important to assemble them because it creates a large volume of employment. And it's exactly by utilizing these global value chains, Southeast Asia have done so much better in exports and in employment. And Bangladesh too has done much better than India in this kind of employment. So it has to be able to build a base. Now, what is the current situation with regard to global value chain production? The first effect is that, well, first of all, value chains are not going away. They're there. Even with the pandemic, we see the importance of these value chains. We see the importance of different items. For instance, if we are producing vaccines, the vaccine produced in India by the Serum Institute was not formulated in India, it is formulated in the UK, it is manufactured in India with inputs from many countries and then sold in the Indian market and also exported. So this is the type of production with which China became the center of manufacturing in the world and was able to both increase employment and reduce poverty. But in the last few years, what has happened is that two factors have taken over. One is Chinese wages have gone up. As China has overcome its, well, Lewis turning point, as we put it, there's now no more surplus labor in China to be observed, to be moved from agriculture into industry like there is in India. Professor Ray just mentioned, we have a lot of disguised unemployment in agriculture. That is not the condition of China. So in that situation, obviously wages have gone up, and as wages have gone up, China has done one thing, it has moved higher up the value chain. And secondly, a lot of the brands, a lot of the lead firms have been moving production, manufacture out of China, garments, leather products, etc. But as they have been moving these items out, unfortunately, they have not come to India. They've gone to Vietnam, they've gone to Cambodia, they've gone to Bangladesh. So you see, if I look at the area of garments, which I know quite well, the garment exports in India have actually been falling in volume, leave alone in share of world exports. So this is a very serious matter, which we need to understand in order to frame a policy which will allow India to utilize the possibilities of labor-intensive exports. Now, Recently, we have done better in the area of consumer electronics, particularly mobile phones. So how did that change come about? Many of us were advocating a long time ago that, look, we have a peculiar tariff structure for electronics, very different from that for, say, automobiles. In automobiles, to import the tariff high. But if you import components and assemble them in India, the tariff rates are much lower on the components. So that is the kind of tariff rate which would support employment creation. But unfortunately, in electronics, and particularly both in the computers and in mobile phones, we had what is called a inverted tariff structure. There was a higher tariff for components and a lower tariff for the finished product. So then why will anybody manufacture in India? Why will Samsung or Sony or anybody manufacture in India when they can bring it from Thailand or Vietnam or other countries? But after this tariff, and happened in garments, it has not happened in leather. Low value, high labor intensive products. So that is really the thing we need to look at. And I will take a few points with regard to that. If we look at Indian garments, one thing you see, you talk to any garment brand or exporter out of India, and the first thing they'll tell you is that India is not a country for high quality production. When there were studies done of the quality production across the world, India was ranked last out of the major garment manufacturers. India ranks last in terms of on-time delivery. So, but why is that? Along with that, we have one more problem, is that we have a very low share of synthetics in our garment exports. Our garment exports are mainly cotton-based, but our synthetic is very low, again, because of the inverted tariff structure. We have to pay higher tariffs on the synthetics, and that inhibits the import of the high quality synthetics. Instead, we have somewhat poor quality synthetics coming out of India, where we have monopolies in their production. So this is one problem that we need to resolve. The second one is that our labor systems are the most inefficient, not because labor system, very high shares of contract labor. They have very high, what we call attrition rates. You know, garment factories lose about 10% of their labor every month. Now, how can you build a capable production workforce in your factory, if you're going to lose your 10% of your labor force, workforce every month? You need to change your labor policy. But unfortunately, we've been moving in the direction not of increasing the share of permanent workers, but of making it easier for industry to actually employ much more of the contract labor, or the new one that's come up, the fixed term labor, which, however, is not a path to permanency. In China, they also have fixed term labor, but after 2 fixed term contracts, the worker has to be given a permanent contract. In India, we don't have that. So you can go on now from endlessly having 6 months contracts and never become permanent. That is not the way in which you can develop a capable labor force. So what we need to realize is that being competitive in exports is not just a matter of having lower wages, which we do compared to, say, China, but of being more productive, and that we are not. We have not been able to build the labor systems or even the management systems which would allow for a more productive firm, a more productive factory, whether in garments or leather products or all kinds of labor-intensive outputs. Now, therefore, we need to, along with this, we have another problem, is that our infrastructure, not only the physical infrastructure, but also the administrative infrastructure is very poor. Now, you talk to any garment manufacturer, they'll tell you, look, it takes ages for us to get a refund of the GST. If you're a big firm, you get it, but small firms can't get it so easily. And individuals suffer even more because they get harassed by all of these new administrative requirements which are there, where when any officer can suddenly serve a notice and say your GST so your GST registration is being suspended. Please give reply to this show cause notice why it should not be suspended. You reply, but they still suspend it, and then you have to go run after this person, that person, and get the suspension removed. Though you've been a perfectly legitimate GST payer all the while, but suddenly they find some reason without reason they suspend your account. So it's not the physical infrastructure, but also the administrative infrastructure. So I will just, 1 minute, I'll summarize that we need a better labor policy. We need to remove the tariffs on inputs. We need to have a R&D promoted at the firm level. Our R&D is so poor that we don't have any R&D, and that is required. You can't produce something. You have to keep improving. And if you don't have along with that infrastructure, we will not be able to increase our share of manufacturing exports. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. May I request, Professor Dev Nathan, may I request the panelists, anybody has any question to Professor Dev Nathan?
Yes, sir, I have some questions. Nathan, sir, I stopped your video because bandwidth, we were getting disconnected. So if you can have your camera on once again, your voice was breaking and freezing. Yes. Okay. So let me put forth some of the questions, especially pertaining to unemployment and industry manufacturing. Sir, India, be it India government or UPA government, this push has been there, and over last few decades, we have had our industrial corridors. We have Delhi to Mumbai, Mumbai to Bangalore, Bangalore to Hyderabad, Amritsar to Kolkata. Many things coming. India has also seen SEZs, special economic zones. We have smart cities, which is also bringing investment. All these efforts are there. Other than that, we have NULM, NRLM, livelihood missions. A skill development program is something which in past 5 years, it has been pushed. Stand Up India, Startup India, Skill India, all these things are coming. And regarding the China and especially pertaining to the trade war, US-China trade war, Indian government has also put forth red carpet for investment coming in India, especially to have this push. And for that, UP government is also pushing very, very fast. And sir, as you mentioned, the ease of doing business is really not going forward. As an admin and as a director, half of my time also goes in this these kind of things, and how can we research, and even the legal bodies, CA, they are also very much confused. So how do you think what other countries have done, especially Southeast Asia? And so do you think at the subnational level there are practices from any specific state which is leading into the direction towards less unemployment? Sir, your insights also from parts of India, because India is also very huge subcontinent almost.
Yes, Professor Dev Nathan, do you have
some connection issues? Is getting
connection is a problem? If anybody else, then at a time he can respond. If anybody else is there in the panel or anybody else outside the panels participating in the discussion wants to raise any issue.
No problem, sir. Dev sir, can you hear us?
Okay, I'll go ahead.
Okay,
I will just respond to your questions.
If nobody has, then I have a small query.
Yes, please. Okay, please.
So, you see this Professor Dev Nathan, the one which you spoke about is being spoken much earlier. In fact, long ago when I did my PhD, and after that also I started doing my work on the export promotion and all that, tried to see, understand. And Professor Panchamukhi was there to help me out in Indian Institute of Growth, and tried to see how really the different hurdles for export promotion could be really removed, and see the kind of example that was set by China at that time of range. In fact, Southeast Asian, what Dr. Arjun was mentioning, Southeast Asian countries, all the subject export promotion, Korea and all that. And they really become the center of growth, development, and change in different ways. But then they had a different system altogether. mind it. One greatest thing that they had land reforms before that. So generated effective demand for the goods at the home market. At the same time also, that boosted up the industries and all that to see that they are able to export goods, and government, of course, the policy of that kind. Now, we had this debate for quite some time on that. My question to you is that, knowing all this, why is it that government has failed to adopt this Export Promotion Council? Infrastructure that we talked about, I think everybody talks about, is nothing of an issue. It is an issue, but being talked about. Tariff policy, yes, I agree with you. My whole thesis is the tariff, and then I find there is a huge problem in that also, that I agree with you. But why is it the government is not taking a step on the direction? In other words, what you are talking is something which is not new. But this is something which has been talked about. This is policy at the corridors of policy making is something which has been spoken time and again. But it never really taken the attention of the government. Even today's government also, today is known as Bangladesh, for example, right, our neighbor, a small country, used to be rated as the poorest country. But look at its growth performance, much better. Not only growth, its human development, it is much higher than India. Then how is it possible for those countries to achieve such a great? Even Pakistan has done extremely well as in pandemic situation as compared to India. Now, why does it happen? Now, is it export promotion or something which is very important for us to really take care of? I understand the Bangladesh situation. Yes, the huge contribution of export promotion is something there for the GDP to increase and employment to rise. But then that was there for quite some time. But economy got stabilized, and which is why it's possible for them to produce growth momentum, development momentum, which they caught up, which is why they are getting more than 4% growth even during the pandemic, where India has -8%. Now, this is something which is, forget about China, a small country like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, positive growth rate. Where is India now stands? So therefore, we have this comparative picture before us, and we do not know. Professor Dev Nathan should suggest export promotion, yes, to agree, but something novel idea of a kind. We are looking forward to hearing more and more on that. Thank you. Sorry, Professor Dev Nathan.
Dev sir, you are on. Yes, please go ahead.
Professor Dev Nathan.
Yeah, my video has been stopped, I think.
Yes, sir. Because of the bandwidth, your voice is coming.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I will take the last question first, Professor Ray's. Now, we are not talking of home market with exports. We are dealing only with exports. So why is India not doing well on exports? I will say it's one basic thing. If I put it in terms of theory, when we opened up in 91, we thought that the market would do everything and that's all we need to do. We did not have an industrial policy which would promote exports, not realizing that we actually need an industrial policy, whether it was Korea or China or Taiwan or any of the East Asian countries. They all had very clear industrial policies which helped to promote exports, and unlike India. So therefore, we did not manage. That was the biggest step, which we have continued to do. We still, if any country in the world follows the Washington consensus, it is India. And we have followed it from 91 to now, that the market alone is what you need. You don't need to do anything else. That's the first point. Secondly, going to the points that Arjun raised, when you have investment, like for instance, we've had garment exports, we've had leather product exports, we've had all kinds of exports. We have a very diverse export basket. But there's one thing which you require in the world market, and that is to keep continuously improving. It's not just enough to import the technology, learn how to use it, and think that that's the end of it and you can carry on producing for the world market. No, there's continuous innovation, there's continuous improvement going on. That is why you need to link R&D with the factory level. It's not enough to just have R&D in your CSIR laboratories. It has to be done at the factory level. And India has one of the poorest or lowest ratios of investment in R&D to turnover in our industrial sector.
Why, Professor Dev Nathan, why it is so?
Well, the industry is not interested in it. Government is not pushing it. There's no links between the two. They are happy to continue with the way they have been producing. And
but why?
Yeah.
But what is the rationale? What is the economic rationale?
The economic rationale is that they are not pushed to do more. And neither the government nor the policy pushes them. On their own, why will they do it? Some do it, some factories do it, and they become large. But many of them don't, and that's why they remain as small, medium enterprises. We have a big problem. Why do our SMEs not grow? When I've spoken to a number of these SME owners, they say, why should we grow? We are happy with the income we are getting.
Okay. Okay. They feel highly protected and enjoying their time over here. That's it. Okay.
The voice has broken.
Okay, Professor Dev Nathan, are you through now?
Dev sir, can you hear us?
Professor Dev Nathan, are you able to hear?
He's trying to speak, but it's not coming.
Arjun, is there a problem in the screen? Oh.
No, sir has dropped out. Nevertheless, sir, we can go to our next panelist.
Yeah, next, let us go to the next panelist.
Please, sir.
Shall I request Professor Bhagat, Professor R B Bhagat to present? Professor R B Bhagat.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ray. And first of all, I like to thank IMPRI and Dr. Arjun Kumar and his colleagues for giving this opportunity. It is always pleasure to be part of IMPRI. And also I see very distinguished panelists here, and it is a matter of great opportunity of learning by sharing. So I would like to thank Chairperson Professor Sunil Kumar. If you remember that we have undertaken a big survey in Bihar, and you have helped us a lot in 2016. And it was a very large survey in Bihar. We covered about 32 villages and about 2,500 households. And one of the startling finding was there that every second household in Bihar has a migrant person, migrant labor, who is working in some other destination, urban destination outside Bihar. So that is one thing. Then later on, we also took a similar study in Eastern UP with help of G.B. Pant Social Science Institute, where Professor Badrinaran is there, and we find similar type of situation. So the point is that why we are talking about UP and Bihar, I think very, very important to understand this regional dimension of India's reality. And UP and Bihar constitutes 1/4 of India's population, and it contributes just 1/10 of the GDP. So that is one startling fact. And this fact must be related with the national level. What is happening? What happens to the national average? Where the UP and Bihar is going, and what happens to the national average? And similarly, then we have, it also points out second most important question. That is what is about the growth or GDP, where the GDP is unfolding, which part of the country, which places, which are the areas, which are the state, whether it is rural or urban or big city, where the GDP is unfolding. I think that is very important, the question of where. And that brings us to the issue of rural versus urban, or big city versus small city, small towns and rural area. And the crucial question is that about unemployment is rapid. See, it is not simple. India's unemployment with 45% workforce dependent on agriculture, contributing just 14% of the GDP. It's not a small thing to transfer the huge surplus labor in agriculture, 45%. So to my mind, let me make first statement that may be provocative, that this monetary policy, tax reforms, and certain other policies related with economic domain or under the ideology of GDP, maybe something like window dressing. We have to address some of the very fundamental issues, and I think that combines economics with that respect, I think the regional divide and our rural-urban divide is very important to understand. And the question is how to create job in the rural area. It's not a simple question of agrarian, creating job in agriculture by boosting agricultural production. That has certain inelasticity in terms of food production, how much we can produce food and how much we can export. That one question was raised in regard with manufacturing. But the real question is about rural diversification. How we can do rural diversification, and that combines agro-processing, food processing, rural industrialization, services, etc. And that requires a policy not of urban versus rural, but integrating rural and urban together in terms of advantage. Urban has certain advantages, and urban policy and program should be designed in such a way that it can become instruments or vehicles of rural development. And we have certain ideas. I think those ideas had been dumped, and that idea must revive somewhere, like idea of Pura, providing urban amenities in the rural area. And that was the idea of our former president, Abdul Kalam. Now that has been changed and it became Urban Mission. Now it is called Syama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission. It is somewhere lost, somewhere little visible. Somewhere this special strategy of rural development, rural diversification is very, very important. Second important thing that is related, I said integration of rural urban development policy or policy of urbanization and the policy of rural development. Third important thing is that how to revive planning. We have abundant planning. We are in project modes or programs mode. So unless we have planning and there is a convergence at a local level, so local opportunities and challenges. There are local opportunities and challenges. But what we see in India becoming more and more centralized. One size fits all. I think that is I think one of the challenges. We must decentralize. We must see the local opportunities. Must make attempt to rural diversification, and planning becomes very, very important instrument. And within that. And our constitutional framework provides certain framework and certain opportunity in terms of 73rd and 74th Amendment of the Constitution. And I think that should be the real statement about being vocal for local. Now we see that things are very, very isolated, working in silos. One ministry doesn't know about another ministry, what is happening in rural area. Manrega is not integrated with watershed development or water supply or Swachh Bharat or other nutritional programs or health programs. Every ministry is working in terms of silos, decentralized. It's a centralized. It's a very section-oriented way, and that needs to have a convergence. Convergence in decentralized governance. And our 73rd Amendment to the Constitution for the rural area, 74th Amendment to the Constitution in urban area provides that opportunity. So these are some of the things I think we have forgotten because we are so obsessed with of the ideology of GDP, and we must remind these things always. The two things must remind. Where is UP and Bihar? 1/10 it contributes to 1/10 of the GDP, whereas it has 1/4 of population. Second is that we have 45% population workforce on agriculture. How to transfer through, provide them job and employment or raise their income and productivity. Now, why we should repeat all these two important things, and there may be more, that it should become part of our consciousness. We have forgotten. Our consciousness have been taken away, and we are become so obsessed with growth ideology and thinking in a big terms. What Professor Ray has said, that we don't want any theoretical debate, but theoretical debate comes as a byproduct somewhere there. So I think we have to have a different type of consciousness. When I say consciousness, it's a consciousness of political leaders, political ideology, and must recognize that unemployment is not only an economic issue. And economists do not have total solution for the problem of unemployment. It is a political issue where democracy, decentralization, and development must be looked together, and bottom-up planning, and actually the opportunity, local opportunity, and challenges. That is very, very, very central. And I think that should be the true meaning of being vocal for local. Not that we have to have more and more growth, and at the end of the day we are not able to export, because where you are going to export? We are competing with other countries which have a high level of skills and technology, and we look for only some parts of Africa or some very low income country where our goods and services can be accepted. So I think with these remarks I will stop here. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you. And in next round, I would request Bhagat sir also to touch upon the aspect of migration, especially from Bihar, Jharkhand, and UP, because that's a very prominent issue also coming in the employment. And those are very affected migrants, which are very susceptible to unemployment. So moving on to our next panelist, Professor Ray.
Yeah. Now, just to Professor Bhagat's very one-line reflections that I like to make is a very interesting presentation, a very short span of time. Actually, your presentation really concentrated on three aspects, three pillars. One is the diversification, the rural diversification, which is very important. Second is the planning, which is completely forgotten. And second, the third is the decentralization. This is something which is very important. Planning, they say the market fundamentalism. Why do you need to plan? That is what they are talking about. You have dumped it very clearly, criticized it very clearly. I need to bring back this planning at the decentralized level. And last point, which is very important, and in fact, in one of my papers that I've written, that you are right, I completely agree with you. It is not only economic, it's a political issue. And now the next social movement that is going to really, or so national movement going to take place in India, it's not centering on anything, but centering on unemployment problem. That is what is going to happen. I just read forecast, and I think this is what's going to happen. That is the material life is talking about. Thank you so much, Professor Bhagat. Now, may I request Dr. Lenin, Dr. Lenin Raghuvanshi to contribute to this discussion.
Yeah,
Dr. Lenin.
Thank you, Professor Sunil Ray, and giving the opportunity, and also Dr. Arjun and his team. I'm going to highlight because two important things. First important thing for us, I need to quote the Barbara, an American thinker. Market, democracy prefers market, market doesn't prefer democracy. And in this context, unemployment is the byproduct of the Indian politics, which produce jobless growth to 119 super rich in this country. And that is very, very important to understand. India is emerging corporate fascist state form. And there is a very different, two important things. First, I'm going to give the successful story of what we are working with the Mushars and all, with creating little opportunity and dignity. So equal opportunity is so important. And the Indian system, especially the mind of caste and patriarchy, doesn't provide the equal opportunity to everybody. And in this way, if you look at batches of the American military, UK military, Indian police, all manufactured in Varanasi as well as in Karachi and Lahore. But the Pakistan, with the all problem of the terrorism, undemocratic countries and everything, they are more successful than market of Varanasi. Why? Because there is a middleman. This is the problem of the middleman also, as well as the mind of caste never giving importance to the dignity of people. And in this way, we need to achieve without qualities. and we sacrifice with our qualities. And for that reason, there is a lot of problems in the Europe. In Musar ghettos, what we provided after our fight, we changed their KP, knowledge, attitudes, and the practice. And we use their very small lands for the kitchen garden. And in the 49 villages in Musar created first years, more than 10,000 quintals of the vegetables. And this is the contributions in their economy and to fighting back the malnutrition and everything. And they are
10,000?
10,000 quintals.
10,000?
Quintals.
What is that?
Quintal. One quintal is 100 kg.
Okay.
So a lot of vegetable. First time in the history, they gave the vegetables to other people also, and creating the dignity. And also we provided the food, like guavas trees, other trees, and that is doing that. 1 and 2 villages we receive a lands through the Gram Sabha, because it is very important. D. Nagras describe about that, what the Professor Bhargava talk about that. We need to bring the idea of Gandhiji of the village republic, because if the village is going to finish, who is going to face? Dalit people, OBC people, landless people, because the rich people are going to, what happening in my villages. We are the people, my relatives from my village, they lived in Delhi, Varanasi, in Mumbai and Delhi, and they are started to sell their lands to other people. So they don't bother about that. They are not the real farmer. Real farmer are the real Ati Sudras and Sudras people, and we need to give the democracy to them, give the opportunity and the dignity to them. It is very, very important if India needs to be transformed. Look, the migrant. Why the migrant came and returned back? I did this study. Because the women did not want to live in this village. Because in Delhi and Mumbai, they receive very different dignity and freedom. So why not my villages going to provide the dignity and the freedom and the democratic space for the women?
Yeah, absolutely.
Understand. So that is also the pulling factors. They want to live in Mumbai. They want to live in village. You look, my very progressive feminist life partner, she doesn't want to visit my village. She want to she's some great champions to work and transform all villages, 40 villages in this Varanasi. But because when she is going to visit my village, there is restrictions. This restriction and all this, it is not part of our culture at all. Because when I read in Gurukul, Vedas and Upanishad, Vasudha Kutumbam and Shastrat and everything, and participation of the women, it is the part of our feudal structures, and we need to eliminate that and transform that very differently. Now, another very important things I will tell you. I talk with the Europeans. I talk with the Europeans why they are not going to work with India. Because already they face China. Already they face the China for the cheap product. If they are going to work in India, and India is going to convert a corporate fascist and Hindu fascist states, and where the very 6% of the world is Indian, and they are going to follow the idea of Hitler. Hitler created the Second World War. They are so much afraid. I will tell you, I have so much secret talk with them. Very important, very, very differently. And I'm telling them we are going to eliminate the systems, and we are going to create this Sanatan democracy, which is promote against the fascist idea. And in this way, we need to give the respect to our culture, some like a Shastra, Vasudha Kutumbakam, giving the opportunity to everybody, share and care, and like that. And also the Ashtangic mark of the Buddha, right livelihood concept, a path of enlightenment. We have a lot of wonderful indigenous wisdoms and the traditions and culture, and we need to promote, but we need to also create different types of the democracy with the local thinking. I'm not talking about the global thinking, because we don't want to bring any Karl Marx, and we don't want to also bring the Hitler and Mussolini in our country. I'm very different understanding. We have the fantastic people like Buddha, Gandhi.
Nor you want to bring Modi or Manmohan Singh.
No.
Nor do you want to bring
Modi and Manmohan
Singh.
Yeah, they are also influenced by them, sir. They are influenced by, they never influenced by the Sanatan democracy. They never quote the Mahopanishad about the Vasudha Kutumbakam. They never. Only they use this as a jargons. We understand. And in the last, in the last time, you look, I am created also the businesses, giving the opportunity with the selling the Tata tea. And we involved the hundreds of the youths. And that time Tata tea had only 10% of the market in this area. I talked with them and I told I want to give the opportunity to youths of the area, especially the village. And we trained them and we started to share with them near about 90% of the profits of the whole profits. And you know that now the Tata tea in this area captured more than 70% of the market. Because when you are going to create a share and you are giving the share and to take the care, the democratic capitalism is going very differently. I'm not like my father's talking about the socialism. I believe in the democratic capitalism based on the rule of law, giving the equal opportunity and the economic freedoms to everybody, which eliminate the democratic gaps based on the castes and patriarchy in this part of the world. So it is very important, and cow will need to be reformed through the market and giving the opportunity to everybody. And for that region in the Varanasi, we created unemployment-free Varanasi. And we organized the meeting of the thousands of people, across the caste, across the religions, across the sex and political understanding. And we talk with everybody. And we talk, it is our country, we need to create. And why the Varanasi? Because it is the Modi's constituency and we want to question. Already we did the Ram temple and everything. Our country needs the employments for the youths, everybody, economic opportunity. And in that way, we need to use the youths and the all section of the society to build in very different nation states for the better world. So we are very clear.
Please tell exactly what are the lessons that you would like to share? What are the lessons that you want to draw and share with the audience? What are the lessons? Very concrete terms. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Concrete terms is that if we are going to believe on the people, talk with them, listen them, map out their knowledge, attitudes, and the practice, understand what is the gaps with the markets and the existing theories and all, and give the equal opportunity and dignity to them. I will tell you, they will create charisma. What the Mushars are become agriculture farmers in our area after the bricklanes. Only they know the bricklanes, but now they become the farmers and they produce their own foods. And also the establish of the many industries like about the silk, and they are selling outside country. The Million Hands, one of the successful startup initiated by few youths in this Banaras, which is a way where we provided them some links with different schemes, also the opportunity, use the information technology and provide the soft loan. Soft loan is the not the loan by interest. So my company, who is doing very well, you look, I started with the 0 rupees 10 years before. Nowadays, I'm doing 27 crore rupees selling of the Tata tea and the salts in this area. One of the most successful initiatives.
That's fine. What are the lessons then? What is that you're trying to say?
Lesson is that we need to work with everybody. We need to talk with the people, with everybody, with the youths. We need to map out their knowledge, attitudes, and practice, because every community has their different knowledge, attitudes, and practice. Just like my caste, I will tell you, undemocratic people in my caste, I will tell you they want to capture. So they want to only go to the Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh and Odisha area as a mafias and capture the minings. And so they are very different people. So if you started to work with the like a Brahmins guy, I will tell you, Dalits, OBC, initially in the system part.
You mean to say people across the caste?
Yeah,
across the caste.
Across the caste. Yeah. Initially, maybe you will start in the ghettos, but slowly you need to bring them across the caste, because initially the mapping of the knowledge and attitudes, because they are different. They are living in the ghettos. Muslims are thinking very differently. Ansari Muslims are thinking very differently. Upper caste Muslims are thinking very differently. That is the reality of this part of the world. But the most important thing, if slowly, if you started to talk about, especially the economics is going to bind everybody, because everybody want to business, everybody want to the money in their pockets. So, and that is going to break this line of the caste and this sex especially. And the second important things, give the hopes to them, because the most important thing, they are very frustrated. They don't have the knowledge about GST, how to make their company, how to make their, there is many incubation centers like in BHU and other, but they are not working very well. You look, only the 3 months, 5 startups initiated by youths in the Varanasi, 5 startups. And they started to sell their products like organic foods and cloths, saris in the US and like that. So most important thing.
I'll give you 1 minute more.
Yeah. So that is. Yeah.
You have to conclude now. Is it over?
Yeah. So the most important things, there is a possibility to convert the simple youths into the great business human being. So most important, and government need to understand to democratize and create a mission, not for the create a market, but for the economic freedom, which is very important.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nin. Very interesting experiment, I must say, that you really conduct. But there are a few questions which maybe that it will take more time to discuss about. But only thing that very important message that you are giving, local initiative, the local knowledge, the local initiative, that's something which need to be really taken very seriously. Indigenous knowledge is something that is completely ignored in the process of change and development seeking for. Now, it is this that is very important. But then question is that how many, are the self-reliant? Suppose if you withdraw from the place, or some of you who are educated withdraw from the place, will they be able to survive? Will be able to do on their own? Those are the questions that has been there. In fact, I did considerable amount of work with the NGOs and many other organizations like this in Rajasthan, other places. And I found that they are very prosperous when they're attached with the NGOs and all the outside agencies. But once they withdraw from the place, they all completely go back to square one. That is the biggest problem. In other words, what is very important is the mainstreaming this kind of effort and become a part of the overall value chain. And then is a process which is self-sustaining. That is something which is, in many places started, but many places it failed. For example, in Medak district of Andhra Pradesh, 50,000 women, scheduled caste women, they have organized their organizations and all that, and doing agriculture, with this organic or agriculture and so on and so forth. But the point is that I asked this question to the organizer, how long you have been here? And if they withdraw from the place, whether they will be able to do it? They said that they will take some more time to do it, because there finally it is necessary for them to self-sustain. If they fail to self-sustain, mainstreaming is not possible. And therefore, what the model that you are presenting, in essence, is fantastic. But then its sustainability is a big question unless it is being mainstream. That is my if you have any brief reaction to my point. So briefly, please.
Actually, what I'm telling, it is not the NGOs initiative. It is very different initiatives by the market initiative, business initiative for the economic freedom. And you look, there are 5 companies very successful in the 10 years, led by other people, not by us. And they are giving the monies to my NGOs. And the highest number of the donation are coming by these 5 companies to me for the 7 years. And we are never receiving any money from the government, never receiving any money from the FCRA and all. And it is very, very different ideas. When we talk with the Tata, like a project, Tata team, and tell them we are going to increase their market. They need to support their advertise money to us. And then we use in the 5 year, and nowadays we are the super stockists in this area. So it is very mainstream business.
Yeah. Thank you so much. In fact, that is how it is to be mainstream. Maybe the larger area is going to be covered by you. Now, next, may I request Professor Dr. Chandra Sekhar, who is from Bikaner. Dr. Chandra Sekhar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Dr. Chandra Sekhar.
First of all, good evening to all my respected panelists and senior participants. Can I speak in Hindi? Because I am comfortable in Hindi. So can you permit? Can I speak Hindi?
Yes.
Please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, कभी-कभी English भी बता दीजिए, but ठीक है वो because Sonia ji may not be able to. I do not know whether Sonia ji is exposed to the Hindi. Lekin I think rest of the panelists are exposed to Hindi and they should be. But चलिए आप कर लीजिए.
Sir, I will also summarize in English, Hindi to English. ठीक है सर. सर हम कैसे? Yes, sir. कैसे बेरोजगारी की समस्या से उभरे, श्रीमली सर?
जी. मैं एक्चुअली में कुछ रीजंस के कारण मैं इंग्लिश नहीं बोल के हिंदी, क्योंकि मेरी एसेंट्स हैं वो ज़्यादा फ्रूटफुल होती है हिंदी बोलने में, है ना. तो मैं सबसे पहले तो ये कि ये जो टॉपिक्स हैं बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत वाला है. मुझे इसमें तो आप जैसे लोगों के साथ बैठकर बात करने का भी जो अवसर मिला है उसके लिए मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ. मैं केवल बात जो करूँगा अभी जो वर्तमान हालत को देखें कि इस दौरान में तो जो यूथ है वो तो इतना अपने एजुकेशन के लिए पागल हो रखा है, साथ में जो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है उसके लिए तो बहुत ज़्यादा डरा हुआ सा है. तो यहाँ हमें जो सोचना है वो ये बड़ी बात है कि जब भी यूथ अपना करियर डिसाइड करे उस वक्त हमें कुछ चीज़ों को ध्यान रखना होगा. वो नहीं करता है. मुझे लगता है कि 80% यूथ जो है जब अपना सब्जेक्ट अपना कोर्स और डिसाइड करता है, क्योंकि यहीं से अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट शुरू है. मैंने बहुत से लोगों को देखा है कि वो ट्रेडिशनल तरीके से चलते हुए आते हैं और ट्रेडिशनल भी नहीं, उन्हीं को देख के वो सब्जेक्ट का चूज कर लेते हैं और फिर वो पीजी करने के बाद में रुकते हैं, उससे पहले कहीं नहीं रुकते हैं और फिर सोचते हैं कि अब हम क्या करें. तो मुझे लगता है कि सबसे ज़्यादा तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट्स जो है वो यूथ वहीं से शुरुआत कर देता है कि जो अपना गोल डिसाइड करते वक्त सोचता ही नहीं है कि मैं जो सब्जेक्ट का जो कोर्स का चयन कर रहा हूँ उसको लेके मैं कहाँ जाऊँगा. तो यहाँ मैं चाहूँगा कि आप जैसे एक्सपर्ट्स लोग और दूसरा एक बड़ी बात हो सके एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में इस बार तो किया जा रहा है अब आ रही जो पॉलिसी में कि उसमें प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट्स को शामिल किया जाता है. हमारी एजुकेशन में मुझे जो लगता है सबसे बड़ी जो मुझे अपने अनुभव से, हालांकि ज़्यादा बड़ा अनुभव नहीं है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि कमी जो आती है कि वहाँ हमारा प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट्स नहीं. जैसे मैं छोटे से एग्जाम्पल से अपने आप को समझाने की कोशिश करूँगा. हमारे यहाँ बीकॉम में एक सब्जेक्ट लगता है बैंकिंग. ठीक है, हम लोग बैंकिंग पढ़ाते हैं, लेकिन जब मैं किसी बच्चे को बैंक में ओरिजिनल काम के लिए भेज दूं तो उसको नहीं कर पाएगा क्योंकि उसको प्रैक्टिकल नॉलेज ही नहीं है. वो सोचता है कि मैंने जो थ्योरी में, ऐसे ही सेम एबीएसटी हमारा जो अकाउंट्स है उसमें अगर ले लें, जैसे मेरा सिनेमिक्स पे टॉपिक पे मैंने रिसर्च की थी, तो सीवीपी जो मैंने पढ़ा था किताबों में उससे तो बहुत डिफरेंट निकला. जब मैंने प्रैक्टिकल्स लोगों की जो बजट्स हमने देखे थे, जो ने बैलेंस शीट्स देखी थी, मेरा मैं कहने का मतलब है कहीं ना कहीं एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में अगर थोड़ा सा ये चेंज हो कि हम बच्चे को ये बताएं कि जो आप पढ़ रहे हैं उसका प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट्स कैसे पूरा होगा, तो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट कम हो सकता है. साथ में मेरी एक और रिक्वेस्ट है कि आजकल जो स्किल बेस्ड क्या है, सरकारों को ये चाहिए कि वो जब ग्रेजुएशन कर रहा है उसी वक्त कोई ना कोई ऐसा डिप्लोमा जो बेस्ड ऑन उसके स्किल से रिलेटेड हो उसको साथ में कंपल्सरी कर दे, ताकि जब भी कभी मान लो उसको लगता है कि मैं सही नहीं बैठ पा रहा हूँ या ये मैं काम नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, के आधार पर उसने कंप्लीट किया है, उस स्किल के बेस पर वो अपना काम कर सकता है. खुद रोजगार ले सकता है और इस तरह से अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट कम की जा सकती है। तो ये मेरे कुछ 2-3 पॉइंट थे। मुझे लगा कि मुझे बोलना चाहिए। पहले तो मैं सोच रहा था कि मैं डिनाई कर दूं, लेकिन मुझे लगा कि मैं मेरी बात रखूं, हो सकता है आप मेरी बात को थोड़ा सा समर्थन करेंगे, उसमें से कोई भी 1-2 पॉइंट पर आप एग्री करते हैं तो शायद ये अच्छा काम हो सकता है और थोड़ा सा अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट में सहयोग हो सकता है। शब्दों के साथ में बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
ना आपका जो बात है, आप जो कहना चाहता है जो स्किल बेस्ड एजुकेशन, वो जो प्रैक्टिकल सिचुएशन जो नीड है उसके हिसाब से गियर अप करना चाहिए, यही कहना चाहता था?
जी जी,
आप यही कहना चाहते, अननेसेसरी स्किल दे रहा है एंड फाइनली वो इस्तेमाल नहीं हो रहा है, कोई काम में नहीं आता है, तो अननेसेसरी वेस्टेज ऑफ मनी, वेस्टेज ऑफ टैलेंट, वेस्टेज ऑफ एवरीथिंग, यही कहना चाहता है। तो वो करेगा तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट ज्यादा अच्छा होगा, प्रोस्पेक्ट है ना, यही कहना चाहता है आप? Dr. Arjun, will you be able to? Yeah.
I will just briefly tell what Dr. Sekhar has suggested. Sir is trying to say that when one is choosing the education, so someone is doing bachelor's and then master's, and then they are thinking what to do. Meanwhile, there is, a lot happens and there is not practical applicability towards the job, which is very important, not just skill development, but the application part and towards real working, those things are very important in Dr. Shrimali's view. I would say very significant things sir has really raised for choosing this and also combating the unemployment situation, especially for youth.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Very interesting point, I must say. That is something which is lacking in our system. And this is what we feel right from independence. And we have this different type of peripheral kind of a skill within the educational system. Mainstream education is peripheral. Peripheral होता है क्या, क्राफ्ट होता है, फलाना थोड़ा थोड़ा ऐसा होता है, लेकिन एक्चुअली काम में कुछ नहीं आता है. And this is एक तो बात है this. And my extensive study किया on skill के ऊपर skill. And देखा जाए 90% जो स्किल होता है ना, वो सरकार जो स्किल बेस्ड ट्रेनिंग देता है 6 महीना 7 महीना 2 साल, अभी नया इंस्टीट्यूट खोल गया, 90% के तो वेस्टेज. एंड उस टाइम जो स्टडी किया था देखा जाए 90% जो लोग स्टिल वो डिफरेंट एप्लीकेशन देके जो कर रहा है, स्किल ट्रेनिंग दे रहा है, वो ट्रेनिंग लेने खत्म होने के बाद वो लोग आके चाय का दुकान खोल बैठे, क्योंकि आपका काम नहीं मिलता है. जो स्किल जिसमें दे दिया ट्रेनिंग उसी में काम नहीं मिलता है. सवाल पैदा होता 2 टाइप जो बात कर रहा है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है. MA BA पास किया, सब कुछ किया, लेकिन प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में क्या जरूरत है नहीं है उस पर कोई लेना देना नहीं है, और घर में बैठे हुए. हर गांव में देखेंगे कम से कम 5 से 10 ग्रेजुएट और पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट बैठा है चुपचाप, कुछ काम नहीं है. ये बहुत सीरियस प्रॉब्लम है. मैं इसके ऊपर एक पेपर भी लिखा था काफी दिन पहले. दूसरा बात है क्या जी, ठीक है सरकार सोच रहा है जो स्किल ट्रेनिंग देगा, स्किल ट्रेनिंग देके वो लोग को अच्छा स्किल पर्सन बना देंगे, वो अपने नौकर चाहे इलेक्ट्रिशियन चाहे डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ स्मॉल स्किल जितना जितने कुछ. लेकिन वो क्या एक्सेस सप्लाई ऑफ स्किल पीपल, नंबर 1. नंबर 2 स्किल कम नहीं मिलता. दूसरा बात है स्किल होने के बाद भी उसके हिसाब से काम नहीं मिलता है. तो इन अदर वर्ड्स द होल प्रोग्राम जो डिजाइन कर रहा है उसमें कंप्लीटली फंडामेंटली फॉल्टी. एक संस्था था बिहार में, काफी दिन पहले का बात कर रहे हैं मैं, हम जब NIT में काम कर रहा था, सेंटर फॉर रूरल इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन बोल के एक NGO खुला था, काफी दिन पहले का बात कर रहे हैं, पता नहीं आज है क्या नहीं है. उसी में अनपढ़ लोग जैसे चाइना में करता था, अनपढ़ लोगों को बच्चों को वो घर में बैठ के सिखाता था इलेक्ट्रॉनिक का काम, रेडियो रिपेयरिंग का काम, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ काम. वो सीखते सीखते इतना एक्सपर्ट हो गया, वो अपना दुकान खोल लिया एंड वो अपना काम करना शुरू किया. सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट बहुत ज्यादा हो गया, क्योंकि जो जरूरत है एरिया में उसके हिसाब से स्किल ट्रेनिंग दिया था एंड वो डेवलप किया हुआ. तो होल प्रोग्राम जो आज के तारीख में हम लोग स्किल ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम जो इवन राजस्थान में आप तो जानता है कितना रुपया खर्चा कर रहा है. आई हैव बिकम वेरी क्रिटिकल ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. जो आप जो खर्चा कर रहा है ये तो नाम के वास्ते, फाइनली जो ये स्किल पीपल जो है उसमें देखिए सर्वे करके कितना लोगों को रोटी रोजी मिल रहा है. ये बहुत सीरियस प्रॉब्लम है, नॉट ओनली राजस्थान, थ्रू आउट द कंट्री दिस इज अ वेरी सीरियस प्रॉब्लम. लेकिन सरकार तो बहुत अच्छा करके कहता है हम लोग इतना रुपया खर्चा कर रहे हैं स्किल ट्रेनिंग में, इतना रुपया खर्चा कर रहा है, लेकिन हकीकत क्या है, वास्तव में क्या है? इतना खर्चे के बाद देखेंगे जो 1 लाख माने जितना कितना परसेंटेज यूटिलाइज हो रहा है इन प्रैक्टिस, वेरी मीगर, एंड दैट इज द बिगेस्ट फेल्योर। इसलिए एम्प्लॉयमेंट जो बढ़ाना है ठीक ढंग से उसके हिसाब से गियर अप करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। थैंक यू सो मच प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर श्रीमाली जी, आपका बात बहुत अच्छा लगा। नाउ may I request now Sonia ji, Sonia George, to contribute to this discussion. May I request Sonia ji?
Thank you, Professor Sunil. And also, I'm grateful to IMPRI and Dr. Arjun to invite me to this wonderful panel discussion on the employment status of the country. I've been hearing different aspects of the discussion. It has been a wide range of topics or concerns that have been raised here in the context. Maybe I would like to go to a different path from what would have been discussed or somewhat related to. I may follow also Professor Bhagat's analysis on what should be the real concerns of India at this time. Maybe my first hypothesis is like, yes, I think we have to really rethink the definition of unemployment. That is something that we have to rethink at this stage. The entire structure of employment, unemployment dichotomy, binary that we have been operating for the conventional operations of employment and unemployment in a context like India. Is it really working? Is it really the truth? Structurally, are there any limitations in understanding that concepts? Because most of the people who are in the informal economy are not even considered as job seekers, but they work. They are not job seekers. They are not entering into the list as job seekers or people who are working. But the entire nation is surviving with them. That was evident for the last 1.5 years, especially in the context of this unexpected spread of the pandemic and the following lockdowns. We have seen that the food needs, the service intake, service needs of this country were never affected. Who were these people supporting the food need and the services of people in the country? If you really look at who are they, that will give us a big answer to the questions that we are searching. Because we were talking about agriculture, we are talking about services. Who are those people who have survived amidst lockdown, who were able to cultivate? There were the people, the small and marginal farmers and the laborers, agricultural laborers in the country. Maybe we say 45%, but I think much more than that. The amount of contribution that they have put into through their livelihood existence, the contribution that they have put into the economy and existence of the country. So that is the first thing that, and apart from that, let us look a different category of workers, the frontline workers, who are, the nurses or the primary, who works through the primary health centers, the voluntary ASHA, Anganwadi workers. Are they really employed in this country? No. They are the voluntary sector. So India amounts to a large number of, huge number of voluntary working people in this country, and majority, more than 90% of them are women. They are not employed in this country. They are mere voluntary workers. So the unions and other organizations in the country have been fighting to include them in the employment force, to accept them as the workers in this country. But the government is not willing, the state is not willing to do so, because once they are elevated from the voluntary to employment, so many things have to be given, starting from minimum wages to other benefits and all. So And the third, the rest of the informal sector in the country, majority of them are women, like home-based workers. Professor Nathan was talking about the huge supply chain, means who are the different tiers of the supply chain workers. Majority of the people for whom home is their workplace, their own home is their workplace. So anywhere in Indian economics and Indian labor, whether home is located as a workplace where employment is generated, are they thinking of the production capacity of the homes, Indian homes, where as you all have mentioned about ease of doing business, digital India, or come and explore cheap labor that we have, which makes you more comfortable in this country. So understanding the dynamics of home as the workplace is a different picture of the employment situation of India. Are we really thinking seriously in this, what we call links between employment and home, employment and the local production, as Dr. Bhagat, Professor Bhagat was mentioning. How this is the household economy of the country, which includes production, which includes agriculture, and which includes all petty productions that is happening as part of that, the essentials that we really need, and also part of the big supply chains, both domestic and multinational foreign supply chains that we are talking about. How much over the quantity of the export? We know that there is a statistics. When a shirt or a garment or any other products being produced through this different links, tiers of the supply chain, the worker in the lowest end, they are not even getting 1% of the amount that is coming out of that production, the cost of that particular product. So again, they are not even coming under the job seeker category, but they are the real working people of India. So the picture of India is like that. This is where we are talking, means majority of them are women, as as Dr. Lenin was saying, majority are people, means who are Dalits, who are migrants, who are tribals. All these people have their own methods of taking part in the economy in terms of livelihood, in terms of existence, and in terms of producing and contributing to the local economy as far as possible in their struggle to earn a livelihood. So I think the economic structure itself has to be deconstructed in that form. Because without deconstructing that, here again the question of skill is coming. We are talking about India had developed, especially following the post 2000 economic surge. Those kind of things have been developing with the expertise from the World Bank, IMF, and other monetary agencies. So much of fund capital have been generated in the country as loans, and these loans have been have been distributed to the lower level. So for that, there were different structures that have been developed, and some was mentioned. It was like we were telling. NRLM, the National Rural Livelihood Mission, the National Urban Livelihood Mission. These are two major employment generation activities that are working in the country, taking care of the rural and urban poor in this country. But if you really or seriously look at what had happened, the kind of questions that had come is in relation to good governance. How do you bring the local people? One of the major thing was building up self-help groups. Can we really experience anywhere self-help groups have really generated jobs in this country? That was one of the models that have been promoted. So the entire development system under NRLM and the NULM are based on self-help groups. So what is the really? It's merely thrift and credit. Giving money as loans with subsidies, interest subsidies, it's being distributed, people are paying back the money, and that is again given to another set of people. So it's merely thrift and credit that has been happened as part of this, but not generating loans. And altogether imparting different kinds of skills. No, I'm coming from Kerala, so we have a system called this Kudumasri. This is one of the mostly discussed poverty alleviation and women empowerment program all over the world and in the country. More than 45 lakhs women are members of that. And we have been talking about how much job, means crores and crores of rupees have been, means it's going to be the 20th year of the Kudumasri experiment, and how much have been, means really how much jobs or how many jobs have been generated out of this, or how many sustainable livelihood enterprises have been generated out of this. That is the questions that we have been asking at this point. So for a normal worker, normal women, when you look at, means all this for Kerala, NULM, NRLM, and all operate through the Kudumasri structure. They are the nodal agencies. So when you look at all this money going through a channel to this particular agency, we see that maybe at a grassroots level, one single woman would have got training at least in 7 or 8 skills. They'll be learning tailoring, they'll be learning ornament making, they'll be learning food processing, everything under the sky. As Professor Sunil was rightly pointing out, so many skills using this money. But at the end, how many of them have livelihoods or employment based on the skills that have been imparted as part of these programs? We may say maybe 20%, or not more than that. So that is the real contradictions that we have been looking at, as Professor Chandra Sekhar was also telling on, the practicability of our knowledge. Where are we implementing it? Or how are we building systems of employment? How are we building systems of production, considering the local economy, considering the nation's economy, or considering relating to the market economy? How are we building different layers of employment systems so that people are...
Oh, fine. That's so absolutely okay. Okay, this is all being understood. I mean, people have been talking about it. Kudumasri is one of the finest programs that have been running, and people know about quite a bit and all that. Now, my request could be to you that what lessons that you can learn from it, and you can share at least a few points that could be a great intervening point for employment generation to take place to greater extent at the local level. Local economy, local resources, and local people, a vibrancy at the local level for growth and development, to be shared by all. That is something which is understood one paradigm. That paradigm has been hijacked. That paradigm is not there. We need to establish that paradigm. We need to follow that development paradigm at the local level. Fine. Now, Kudumasri is one of the programs of that kind which really initiated or rather, trying to develop the people at the local level, especially the women. Now, what lessons that you can learn from it, and therefore this could be a contribution for you from your side to this discussion.
No, that's what I was saying, sir. The process. You cannot take Kudumasri as a sole experiment, but it has to be looked in relation to the larger programs of the country, like the NRLM, NULM, and other employment generation programs. And Kudumasri is actually, I was saying, the nodal agency to implement these programs in the state. So that is where I'm saying, the limitation of the structure, in transforming, the money or the capital that have been generated, to impart skills and respective jobs on the people. It's not working at that level. It has limited capacities. So because what I really want to say that without understanding the dynamics of patriarchy, without understanding the dynamics of caste and local structure identities, no employment opportunities will work in a particular local economy. All that are very relevant, as Dr. Lenin was rightly pointing out. So, in relation to that, education is directly linked to all these aspects. For Kerala, can say that a state with the highest amount of literacy and the highest amount of educated women in the country, the lowest number of women participation rate in the country, Kerala bears. So how this contradiction is happening? That's what I'm saying. The ended question of, but we know that the kind of household economies that is generating, the home-based work that is generating, the agricultural sustainability that has been generated, they are not involved in any kind of the labor statistics that has been generated in this country. That is not mixed. And the unpaid labor, that is very serious. The unpaid labor of women and children, that have been able to sustain the economies for a long time. It has been subsidizing the economy in a long way. Feminist economies have largely brought out this debate on how the paid labor has been substantially supporting the economy to sustain. So looking at now Kerala is coming out with a new project. I'm talking about Kerala because of its specificities at some points. Smart kitchen. The smart kitchen is aimed at easing the jobs of women so that they are able to work more in the labor market. That is to support the unpaid labor of women at the household so that they'll be able to involve in more labor-oriented, wage-oriented activities. So that is one of the systems that Kerala is trying to bring. So the support system, the childcare systems, the household unpaid support systems, raising the question of patriarchy so that house becoming a combined joint family, not women's burden, the entire caring job and all. And another thing that we have to very seriously take about is the care economy. How are you looking at? Thousands and lakhs of jobs have been generated in the care economy, which is undocumented. They don't have any kind of visibility at any place, but they are the essential service takers in the country. So how do we generate sustainable jobs, established jobs, inclusive jobs out of care economy? That is one of the biggest things that we are talking about. And now we are talking about so much of platform gig economy. Many of our youths in generation are going out and working out. We are going into a new structure where the employer is not there anywhere. So that is the new kind of job structure is coming. Employment relation coming where the employer part is completely missing. With, you cannot call it even as self-employed. It can be called different, like platform or gig or care, or household economy. Now, these kind of economies are coming out and dominating the market, the labor market. So migrants are one of the categories who have been highly used in this process of converting these new kind of economies. So how do we concentrate more on these kind of economies so that it's giving more income? It's kind of, how do we talk about transition from the informal to formal in this process? How could it be formalized? How could the state could generate more social security measures to these people so that they can have a stable livelihood at different points, means in terms of pandemic disorientations, or we know what happened when demonetization happened, or the entire GST regime has put into existence. All these have shook the this local informal economic base. But and there is a tendency again, I'm sorry to say that even though the entire economy of the state, the country is sustained by the informality of the workspace. They are treated as outliers in the process of the so-called management, corporate business holders. So how do we lift this, in order to say that, we have proper employment, we have proper wages, we have proper recognizing of women's contribution in the economy, in the local economy, and how do we differentiate this new kind of employment possibilities, the knowledge economy, the care economy, the platform economy, different kinds of systems, so that how can we really restructure the system in order to persuade new forms of employment, new forms of systems, so that people's rights are not denied, but people should have proper income, proper livelihood, and their education and skills have to be interrelated so that they are able to survive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sonia. Sonia ji, let me tell you that I really felt enlightened by your presentation, personally, I feel there are a few things which are very important. Normally, those who have been working on employment vis-a-vis the market economy, they never take note of some of the points that you have made. I have little exposure towards care economy, but this care economy is something which is very important. It's not an employment potential in the care economy. Now, the person that there is a care economy already in existence, but unfortunately, the value addition to the care economy is not taking place at all. Market doesn't want to add any value to that. That is something which is, now if you really try to boost up the care economy in a formalized way, as you said, formalization of this care economy, perhaps it will certainly create a larger scope, even the knowledge economy. Knowledge economy, not necessarily what the technocrats have been teaching. Knowledge economy is the rural knowledge or indigenous knowledge also is something which is very important. We have the tendency because of the colonial hangover to devalue them. We never consider that anything to be added as a value. And therefore, we are really in a serious crisis. Now, if there is a formalization of this kinds of economy and add up to the employment list, employment generation list, perhaps this is another way of looking at. But then all this really takes care of, it talks about indirectly or directly, shift of emphasis, shift of a transformation of a different kind altogether. That is something which is very, very, very important. And that is something we need to underline that. It is not the market economy means technology. Market economy does not mean necessarily big industry, does not mean necessarily what is called production, market chain, market value, or export, import, so on and so forth. But there is something more than that. And that is something which has been sustaining the economy. As you said very rightly, it is the informalization which is sustaining the economy. If the women withdraw from their services, if the children are withdrawing from the services, then do you think this economy is going to sustain based on the market value? No. It is certainly bound to collapse. Now, the question is that it is precisely where we need to really strike a huge balance to see that this also gets incorporated into the formalization process and therefore to be treated as a kind of a source for employment generation. I really thank you so much for your contribution. May I now request Dr. Upendra Singh to contribute to this discussion.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for giving me opportunity. It's very good to hear all the panelists about the very crucial issues of how the problem of unemployment can be solved. Yes, I can say it is really a very burning issue. It's very heartening to note about the problem of unemployment exists everywhere, in rural area also, in urban area also, in the people who have education, the people who are engineers, the people who are teachers. So it is everywhere. So, but just I want to give not a very macro kind of analysis, but I want to talk to the micro level of maybe the situation and analysis. In my opinion, what I feel, the people who are in the age of working, who are searching for employment, so they should get some job. They should get a right job looking to their skill and where they can work respectfully, as well as they should they should get the remuneration gracefully, so that they can live their life properly as per the requirement, as per the need, as per their family, as per the children. Because looking to the employment and looking to the job, the situation everybody is seeing, the day by day situation is going to the worse. Even the people getting education, in the more literate people are there, more educated people are there. So people are not finding job of their suitability. That's why they feel they are not doing it, or they are still struggling to get a right job. So maybe I think the situation can be created of unemployment. But in my opinion, we should also try to have a situation, because we are living in a world where we can plan our things very contextually. Okay, I am a postgraduate student, or if I am an engineer, if I am a B.Ed student, so I should get a job of teachers in a government only. So we just cross our age still in preparation for getting the government job, and we never try to put our skills in a place where the opportunity is available. So again, this is a kind of, I can say, the kind of mismatch kind of situation. The kind of employment for which I'm looking for, I'm not getting it, and the job I'm getting it, I'm not going to work with that. So it's all going to create a situation we are calling it a kind of havoc situation, which is tagged as unemployment in the world, maybe in our country and maybe our world. It is just like we can say demand and supply. Okay, there is demand of laborers are there. The laborers, or maybe the people who are educated, the supply part is there, and the market is there to consume the people who are ready to employ themselves. So the importance is of, but I just see as just like a seesaw kind of situation. The plank is there where one side is supply and other side is demand. The role of fulcrum is very important, which is the position of fulcrum. So the place of supply and the place of employment is balanced or not balanced. So the role of fulcrum, maybe the market, we can call it a fulcrum, the political system, the administration, we can call it a kind of fulcrum, which is who is playing or the market. So they are playing the very crucial role to balance both this supply part and the demand part. So this is the situation. And in my opinion, as I said, I'll going to be a kind of a micro approach. So I just look into it, the kind of unemployment. So unemployment, why it is there? It means the supply and the demand is not at all match in the given situation. But the place where we can search where the people, because the whole our system of the people, as we heard from many panelists, the different government programs is going on, the skill development program is going on, the kind of skilling is going on, I think in a big way. But I think we just see we have to study it, where is the demand in the country, and maybe in the state, or maybe in the local area, maybe the district, where we are searching for a kind of labor, the workforce, which is to be employed. Maybe it is the industry, maybe it is the education sector, maybe it is the medical sector, maybe it is the environment sector. So we have to really see which are the sector, because we are in a state where we have to analyze the situation, which are the area where the job and what kind of job is available in the market, in the system, in the district, in the state, in the country, and what kind of labor is available with us. We can see in today's world the kind of different engineering colleges are coming up, the MBS colleges are coming up, the B.Ed colleges are coming up, the nursing institute. You have lakhs and lakhs of people who get trained, but still looking for, they should get a job in a government, but looking to the vacancy in the government, it is not just possible to have the kind of supply and demand that can be filled. Even in today's situation, if we can say the B.Ed people who plan their career to be in education sector. So suppose in a state like Rajasthan, every year almost around 1.3 lakhs people doing this B.Ed courses, and they are seeking to get job in the government. But what is the situation? In hardly 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you have 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 vacancy. And we have backlog of at least 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs. So, and the people who did the B.Ed and all, they are looking for government job, and but they're not using the opportunity available in the private sector. The reason being the kind of skill they have. What we are talking of, the kind of skill, the proper skill, the people should have it so that they can get the employment in a right manner. So maybe that is lacking, or maybe they have the kind of their jit is there. I have to go in a government sector only. As we know, we should, when we are talking of these skills and all, there is one saying in Hindi, I can just quote it, कि जब हम खुद को तराशते हैं तब दुनिया आपको तलाशती है. कि when you sharpen yourself, then the whole world will look for you. The kind of academic capacity you have, the kind of the kind of skill you have. So those kind of thing is required. The kind of availability of skill, the kind of availability of, I think it is not batch. That's why the people who are supposed to get the workforce, then they're not getting proper workforce.
Okay, next point.
Yeah.
Go for the next point now.
Yeah. These are situation. And then my point is what can be done, what can be the suggestions so that the whole education system, the kind of skills people are getting and the kind of education people are getting, how it can be matched. And so one, I can say the kind of we can have a proper counseling system. We should work across the area, the country, maybe the states and the districts and maybe the local level, so that they can counsel people from the time of education, complete maybe the class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th. Then we can also see the kind of mindset kind of thing. So what can be done so that the kind of mindset of the people it should be in a way so that we can adhere to the availability of opportunities in the market. So rather than struggling, we are not getting job and we're not doing anything. So this can be one thing. And because as an organization also, we are working in some HR sector also. The whole struggle is that getting people who are more committed and dedicated. It's very rare. It's very difficult. Every 6 months, 12 months, we have to replace people, even the engineers, maybe the technical people, maybe the management information, the people who are the software engineers and all. We have to replace people because looking to the suitability, it is not there. Then again, a kind of the next the suggestions I have, how the skill should be transferred, maybe shifted to they should be hands-on to the situation. It's not only skilling the providing skills to the people through many approach, but how it should be hands-on. If somebody has been taken as earlier panelists said, one person has gone for many trainings, every training, so that they feel if I'll maybe suitable opportunity, I should get it. So my reply is how the skill should be hands-on. So that should be in taken care of. The skilling should be hands-on. Then looking to the expanding the opportunity, as we said, in rural area. So how the more kind of cooperatives can be made, so that the people, there may be cooperatives, so that the people get a job in the agriculture sector too. Cooperatives, that is one. Then the kind of, we are talking of education system, how the education should be, so that it can be taken care of the present demand and all. Then we should be have a believe in country production. It's not that something should coming from China is fine, but how to develop a believe in the country production. So that should be the important aspects, how that can be done at local level, maybe the village situation, just promoting the agro-based industries and all. So we should have a firm belief on that, how the system can improve the quality, ensure the quality, and so that it can match with the situation. As Madam Sonia told, there are many programs, anti-poverty programs, government of India and state government is going on. But ultimately, they're looking to the quality and looking to the marketability. That is a big issue. This is since last 81, when it started the DOCRA and all. So the same problem we have. The marketability is the problem, quality is the problem, and ultimately we have to compete with the market. So that's why I just focus on how to develop a belief in a country production. So these are the things which I just want to share. Thank you, sir, and thank you for giving opportunity. If you have any question, so
Professor Ray, should I ask some insights from Upendra sir? Professor Ray?
Yeah, let me tell you that there are 3 points which he is trying to emphasize on. He has emphasized, which are very important. One is that he has spent considerable amount of time on the skill issue. That is the mismatch between the demand for skill and the supply of skill. And what all that he wanted to argue, which is very important, the skill, I've touched upon it earlier, also spoke about it, but very important, the overhauling of the whole skill training, skill development program of the country, overhauling. And overhauling has to be done in the light of what is demanded in practice and what is being supplied. Now we need to really, because this is a supply side. It is intervention is basically from the supply side.
Right.
Now from the government side. Now, it is necessary for government or the people who are at the helms of affairs to conceive a program. They should really take care of, they should conceive the skill development program in the light of what is required in practice, linking between the two. Therefore, there could be a match between the supply and demand. And I also told the how wastage of money is taking place and all that. That is something which is very important that he talked about. And second point is equally important is the cooperative system in the rural area. That is also, again, is a very close to my heart, and that's something is necessary for people to come together. And that is why in some paper, I developed the idea of collective entrepreneurship. And that is something which need to be really talked about. Now, this is something which is missing. And this is in some countries like, for example, collective, like Argentina, like Cuba, and some other what is called Latin American countries are going for collective enterprises. That is something, a kind of self-organization that is called. A self-organization has to take place. A few people together, a few educated, for example, educated men and women together, open up some program, something of that kind, some initiative, maybe production, maybe processing, maybe education services, maybe health services, maybe anything. There's something is a collective enterprise of this kind of. This is the idea which I have developed in one paper. I have submitted to the government to follow it up. This is one thing. Secondly, third point is that, which is equally important. He talks about indigenous for local production to be emphasized. And we need to do we start doing what's called not depending on the import. Here the question some of the protagonists of the market talk about. Suppose the cost of import is less than the indigenous production. Which one you go for? This is something which is being rubbished by some of the economics, like, for example, I was going through a book long ago, 1972, that is Small is Beautiful, that the author of the Small is Beautiful, I'm forgetting the name of the author, Small is Beautiful. So he argues this is something which is ridiculous. Question is that you develop, when you develop the indigenous level of indigenous production system, it takes time to mature. And if you keep it open for or exposed to exports, exposed to imports, certainly it will go down. But it is necessary for us to look for, again, developing the indigenous development process. Even at the village level that he talks about, village level, it is very important that you really look forward to see that indigenous level of production or processing or something without depending upon import, something that is very important for us to look for, because over a period of time, you see the import, the cost of production, cost of marketing, cost of everything of this kind of system will certainly go down over a period of time, not immediately. Therefore, that is something which is wanted at this point. And if these things are being taken care of, it will automatically generate employment opportunities for the rural people, where the problem is much more severe than what the urban people is all about. And that is the three most important points he talked about. And these are, that is what I could learn from his deliberation. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Upendra, for your contribution to this program. Thank you so much. Yes, any question, anywhere, anything?
Yes, sir, I just also wanted to ask Upendraji one question that since CDECS is a national level organization working in different parts of the country, so what has been your experience? And sir really also highlighted essentially that we should have Atmanirbhar Bharat. Why not? Self-confidence, have belief in ourselves. That's a very important point. Sir, we also missed one very important part, which was for self-employed and then employment generation. Our government is also focusing. We have a scheme called Mitra Yojana, and our government has given more than 12 crore, 13 crores of loan into that. 50,000 to 5 lakh, 5 lakh to 10 Tarun. Three different components is there, and there are also other schemes. One other scheme is also of the apprenticeship, national apprenticeship program, that is also there. Government is trying to build that. In terms of the cooperatives, we have a lot of self-help groups, and the number is growing. And it's not about one government or two government. It has been the continual process which is going on, as Sonia ma'am was highlighting, that Kudumshri and all that is happening. It's not that something really is coming out or something very new, significant as the purpose of our deliberation. As Sunil sir always highlight, what is new? And we also have farmers producer organization, FPOs. When we talk about this number, at macro numbers, we have a lot. But there is no impact. Also, the skill development program, Skill India, and PM Kaushal Yojana also, it also have a lot of numbers, and a lot of industries are leading that. But what do you see the implementation on the ground, especially in this pandemic period, and what kind of levers these programs are having at different parts of the country to tackle the unemployment, or how is it leading in skilling? Retention rate is really important. And working here from New Delhi, we all have developed fantastic metrics. Big corporates are coming, big think tanks are coming from America and everywhere looking into these dimensions. But we know all what is happening. So what is your view, that what is the situation at the ground and what needs to be added in to strengthen these measures? Yes. Upendraji.
Yeah. In my opinion, looking to the situation, so I think there are a lot many effort is going on. As you said, the producer organization, and I think there are a lot many discussions. There are many ministries and many departments who is working for this. Maybe suppose your employment generation is there, the self-help group, the producer agriculture department, then maybe the different ICDS and women development. There are a lot many departments are working on. So as I feel, the kind of because it's all the majority of the programs are system driven. It is running in a way where the officers going to be the happy, the bureaucrats going to be the happy. So it is not the problem in a planning of the part, but when we are talking of execution, so the honesty is not there. Honesty is there till the officers and the money is there. When everything khatam, वो सब then they never thought of we have been a part of the program. It should be really even after when I leave that department or place, that should work in a better way. I had a good experience of working in seeing the situation in Maharashtra also. The Learn Your Producer organization in Rajasthan we have seen. In many other states we have seen the producer organization and all. It is again become a kind of although we are saying it is the producer association is a forum of the producers of that product of that area, but in real terms we can see the bank passbook, the bank checks, it remains with the government department only. The people who are holding who have the key role in releasing the money from the department and reporting to the department. So everything, we are calling it a producer association. The whole country, they are just like a puppets. So even when we talk about these things, they will say, it is not like that. But when you be there for, it's not as a visitor. When you are going to be there for maybe 2 days, 4 days, 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, then you understand the situation. The kind of honest approach is not there. The kind of honesty, what should be there, it is not there. And in the real terms, it is not a producer association. It is a kind of induced association. It is a kind of artificial association is there. Because government money is coming there. Everybody is, because I think we have learned when we were starting off their career, the people who are uniting, I was going to some report of Afro and maybe the Afro-Asian Rural Reconstruction Department. I was working with some project in the part of the Bihar and all. There it was written, the people who are united for money, it is not a good bonding. So I think still after 27, 28 years, I come to know the things which are bonded with the money only, it is not going to be the long lasting. So maybe one of the reasons, even after many investment and all, at the end of the day, nothing was as intact as it should be. The kind of heart and soul is not there. And Professor Ray, I had gone to number of studies and discussion of Professor Ray in the year 95, 96, when he had written as books related to sheep and wool and all. So the kind of, I think nothing has changed even today. Every book maybe have different terminology, different language, different presentation is there. But the fact is there, that should be the approach for this. But why we are unable to do, since we are talking since 1995, 96, but we are in 2021, why it is not happening? The kind of our approach, the kind of honest approach we should have, and the government, how the control should be given to the right people. It's not the people I am the officer of the department, I am the deputy director, I should have the stake. And the people are just like puppets. They're just saying, okay, we will get some benefit out of it. Or they had been told, I have been a part of watershed development program. I think every watershed development program has around 5% of the total budget for this self-help group income generation activities. In Rajasthan, we have something around 15, since 2008 to 2016, almost 15,000 crores they have spent. See, the 5% of the cost, the 5% of 15,000 is something around 750 crores of rupees. It's not very small amount. 750 crore is a big amount. And in a state of Rajasthan, we have a World Bank assistance program of rural livelihood of 875 crore only. So there are lot many effort, lot many people, lot many staffs are working. But here in the watershed department, they have spent 750 crores. It may happen they have spent much lesser than that. looking to the audit para and all, it should not become an audit para. So they have spent the money. But what about the income generation? Income generation is only for employment generation, enhancement of the income and all. But that is not there. So in my opinion, the kind of honest approach, the right approach, right kind of people, that is required. If that should be there, certainly the result will be better. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, Dr. Arjun.
So really highlighting the point of ad hoc approach, which we have taken, not just only by the bureaucracy, but the whole system. Even the multinationals are coming, or even NGOs, companies, of course,
right.
that yes, the ad hoc approach has become the real Indian problem, especially for this employment thing, and really seasonal. And we have almost reached supper time for everyone. Everyone must be leaving that. So with that, Professor Ray, if you will allow, we would request everyone for in about a minute or so, give their suggestion for a way forward, how to tackle this menace of unemployment in India, especially the youth unemployment. And then Professor Ray, you can summarize and I can give a vote of thanks. Professor Ray.
Yeah, shall I summarize this one?
Sir, shall we go to each panelist for their suggestion, final suggestion, way forward, and then
so it will again some time. They have already spoken, but as you said, if anybody is interested, one suggestion each. One suggestion each.
Okay.
I think
each panelist once, not more than. So 1 minute will be given to each one.
Okay, Lenin sir, why don't you start? Yes, Anil.
Yeah, actually we
1
need
minute.
to create. We want to create a model. We want to create a model through the economic democracy, through the equal rights to the resources and opportunity. Otherwise, it is
great. Thank you. Thank you. Going to
very good.
Prof Bhagat.
Yes, yes. So time is short, as you know. It was very interesting to listen to all panelists, and we almost we have a convergence of opinion. So I would like to just say a few words. That is, we must strive for development from below and institutional building at a local level, and also capacity building. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Shrimali, would you like to add something as your final comments, if you are here? Sekhar, sir. Ji. Sir, please unmute yourself if you can.
सर मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
आ रही है सर, बिल्कुल. Yes, please go on.
मेरा कंक्लूड वापस वही होगा कि हम 10th से ही बच्चे को इस तरह की एजुकेशन दें कि वो जो चाह रहा है उस रोजगार के लिए हम पहले से प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट्स में उसको एजुकेशन दें. बस यही मेरा एक सजेशन.
बहुत शानदार सजेशन. थैंक यू सर. सोनिया मैम, ओवर टू यू.
No, what I feel is that, recognizing the role of, the invisible people, who are marginalized women, the Dalits, and their real contribution, and tribals, the real contribution to the economy, and the support systems to develop and integrate them to the mainstream economic growth and development can really nurture more jobs and more ways of employment, and also more inclusive economic pathways. So that is what I think we have to develop using programs, or develop new programs based on that, to build up that inclusiveness. So that will really generate employment in this country. That's my thank you.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much, Sonia ma'am. And Professor, it is becoming also very important aspect, invisible, care work, unpaid work, how to mainstream that, because that is becoming really a problem. We now have an enrollment rate of over 100% for girls. All are educated, and who wants to work really? International people come and ask me and all our experts that agriculture, rural sector, women participation is, declining. But you ask those girls why no one wants to work in field. everyone want to, upper mobility. I wanted Professor Bhagat to also touch on this as a right-based issue, right to migration. And as ma'am was saying, the right to all the entitlements. Professor Ray, over to you to summarize on this very important topic of today's deliberation, which, sir, you have initiated, how to resolve unemployment problem in India. Sir, over to you. Professor Ray.
Dr. Upen.
I think Upen, sir, summarize.
Yes, Dr. Upen.
Would you like to? Why not? Sir, please unmute yourself. Upenji, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I feel the kind of suggestions already we have made. But one thing we can also see how we can really expand because it is again a system, maybe the private, maybe the government and all, how we can expand the employment opportunities. Maybe if we are going to have maybe the process of industrialization and all. So that can be taken care of, where the more and more labor force can be get the opportunity to work. So maybe the process of, I think, industrialization can be also one of the suggestion where the government can really allow different stakeholders with the different opportunities and maybe the kind of supports system, so that the better performance of industrialization can be taken place. Sir. Yes, sir. From my side, it is over.
Okay. So,
Professor Ray.
Yeah, very briefly, because the time is very short. We are already 8:30. So, let me tell you this. Let me tell you, this is a very interesting exercise. Dr. Arjun, the kind of exercise that you have undertaken is something that's very revealing in varieties of ways. Most of the many, if not most, many programs that I attended earlier on these issues, the employment and all that, we have a tendency to get into so much of unnecessary theory and the data, and leaving aside the real issue of employment generation as to how to go about. That's something which never takes place. That's one part of the story. The another extreme also, there are some organizations at the rural level or in semi-urban areas who have been experimenting on their own and have become successful at the end of the year. And they cite their examples, this is how it is to be done, but without mainstreaming. There's another problem. If it comes to the question of mainstreaming their activities, so from 2 villages to 200 villages, that is something which is lacking. But for the time being, it is being glorified that how much work that has been done, that could be an example. But unfortunately, in many cases, it fails to really multiply. It doesn't really expand. So mainstreaming finds it difficulty. But now, today, one thing which I found very extremely enlightened, that what at the village level, the kind of democracy that you require, and the new dimensions like, care economy. Now, one thing, there are few suggestions which have come in equal rights at the village level, institutional development at the rural areas. Institutions does not mean some of the institutions that are existing. At the village institutions, an institution means where is the equal right is being given to everybody. Institution, the set of rules, the conduct, the behavioral pattern, which will be equally applicable to everyone. That is what institution is talked about. Such institution has to come out, grow in the rural areas. Now today you have an institution of discrimination, the institution of exploitation, institution of differentiation. That institution needs to be demolished. In that place, you need to have an institution which practices democracy, which gives equal right to everybody. That is what Dr. Lenin was talking about. Such kind of institution has to be developed. And if that becomes what is called a building block for what is called market development of a different kind altogether. The market, in the real sense, it is a freeness, it's a democracy. It is a competition at equal length. If that is what the market is all about, and that ensures the efficiency, you need to have what is called a background of this kind where the market can operate. Otherwise, market is there, growth is there, just because you have an institution of discrimination, you have an institution of exploitation, the major part of the fruits of growth go to those, a very few who are the privileged, and the rest of the people completely get deprived. And today, which is why, had you had this kind of institution earlier, right from the beginning, this pandemic would not have created havoc in life of 40 crores of migrant workers. That is what exactly. So you need to have a village institution that replaces the institution of discrimination, institution of exploitation, institution of differentiation. And there you have the equal right and this kind of equal and democracy. And then another thing also that is very important thing that has been talked about, care economy. Now this very essentially that, this is something which market economy never gives any importance. There are some Scandinavian countries, if I am not wrong, they give emphasis on that. They really treat this as the part of their mainstream life and something. I don't know how the valuation takes place and the value addition is there or not. I do not know much about it. But one thing that the treatment to the kind of what's called the services being provided at the moment, especially the informalization of it, is something which is not there. It is highly respected and a different kind of a scenario altogether. Now, is it not possible for us to formalize them? Is it not possible to generate what is called employment? We could see if they expand the care economy does not necessarily be having some what is called few hundred hotels here and there. That is one thing which is there. But the care economy, right from the household economy, that is there. And if this care economy really improves, if this attention is being given, if the policy is being developed best to improve upon this one and formalize this care economy, mainstreaming this care economy, part of this is a tremendous potential for employment generation that needs to be taken note of. And of course, this is one more very important point that has come out, which have been very critical, which is always there, we speak about, but nothing is being done. Even this government also is not doing anything of that direction. The skill development aspect of it. And this is a study which has been there for last 250, 40 years or so. Don't tries them program, this and that. And from now, you have got skill institution all over and all that. And evaluation, I did also quite a few evaluations on that. And I find the same problem, similar type of problem, mismatch. Whether you talk about education, which is not really appropriately given to the development, to the requirement of the requirement in practice, and therefore remain idle. So mismatch is there. That is something. But that is something which need to be really, which need to be really taken care of, which need to be really seen. And this is being spoken about. A lot of criticisms are there, but nobody is really taking care of. Wastage of money is a political slogan. Rather, it's turned out to be a political tool to use to the people to showcase that we are doing something as a political leaders. But actually, if you see the cost benefit, the cost is huge, the benefit to the society is too less. That is something where you are stuck up with this kind of a program. And if really is high, that is a suggestion, then it can really generate a lot of employment and all that. That's something which should be taken very seriously. And then, of course, we have what is called this industrialization, local industrialization. This is something which need to be, let us not look at it from the traditional point of view. It is something very different kind of thing. Now, industry, local industry, who has to do it? Either local NGO, no. The people, which people? The poor people, the rich people. Now, who has to do it? It is something where you need to find out as to how to go about it. There is maybe that, as I was mentioning, this associated production, associated producers, a big group of people together to develop. For example, I given an example in many cases, like processing. You don't have to go to big corporate sector for food processing or say storing or transporting and all that. These are the industry that can develop in the local areas. Dr. Upendra was having had this in mind, that if that is being developed with a group of people, young people, boys and girls together, maybe educated or less educated, whatever it is, they group together, come together with a little bit of assistance for the government. instead of going to the corporate sector for developing the store for agricultural crops, you can always really think about this kind of thing, a kind of chain of production, the services centers all over the rural areas. It will generate tremendous amount of employment, tremendous potential is there for employment generation. There is some employment creation, I would say, not generation. That is something which is very important for us to take note of. So when it talks about rural industrialization or the industrialization, it basically industrialization at the local level. And the local level is feasible if you have what's called this kind of collective entrepreneurship. This one, I do not want to get into too much of biological evolutionary theory. And then I find that, something, the present market system is really is promoting the people based on what's the logic of what is called is a logic of the standard evolutionary theory. That is what they call you create an opportunity so that this natural selection process, those who are able to really fit into the market demand through the process of natural selection, they get into this one as they progresses. We do not want that kind of system. We want market to be really at the doorstep. We want to see the market really serving the purpose for every one of us. Market is not to be meant to serve the purpose of a few. If really this market, and that is possible for us to really to go forward, what is called, based on what I have developed a theory is called niche creation structure. That is at the local level. You create the niche structure, and the niche structure, they influence, the species will influence not only for its within own, it will not depend on the what is called natural restriction, outside influence. It will depend on its own. So if the villagers, the youth, they develop on their own together, it has really externality, and certainly it will grow in much better way than what is, maybe that may not be able to earn so much income at the beginning, but definitely it will have its own growth trajectory of a different kind altogether. And you see the employment potential is getting more and more in the process. Therefore, it is necessary for us to really look forward to see what all these, to put them together is something, a freedom to grow, to without any discrimination, have the benefits of development and change. And this local process has to be really come about to see that how the local process could become vibrant over a period of time, to hijack the development process, to see the process is something which benefits everybody, which does not benefit a very few people at the cost of others. It benefits everybody. That is what the democracy is all about. That is what the justice is all about. That is what we stand for. That is what the society is evolved for. If we do not do it, a catastrophe is something which is beyond, is very much visible. It is not invisible like Adam Smith talks about. It is visible now. It is a catastrophic situation that we are facing and we are going to face anymore further. To stop that process, a civilization growth process to stop, we need to see that it grows without interruption. And this is the only way through which you can see that the local 70–80% of the people live in the rural areas. They come together to see that a process is generated at the indigenous level, and Louis at the local level, perhaps it's possible for us to really extricate ourselves from this complex, what is called crisis of unemployment. That is something which is really creating a havoc in everybody's life today in India and elsewhere throughout the world. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity for starting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Ray. And really what you are highlighting, and it's not just about India or our subcontinent or South Asia. The facts which you are putting are very simply of collective entrepreneurship is really the need of the hour, and sir has been highlighting this, and we feel so much privileged, both IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, and Center for Development Communication of Studies, CDECS, to learn from all you panelists being so passionate and highlighting so many of points. Lenin sir is really highlighting the point of Sanatan democracy. These messages which we are from the land of Buddha and the land of Gandhi, Tagore, APJ Abdul Kalam, Savitribai Phule, everyone. Why are we not able to do it? And all of our panelists highlighted this problem in very detail, and Upendra sir also highlighted that we need to be more original. and not ad hoc, and all of our panelists. So let me quickly propose a vote of thanks for this very important deliberation. So on behalf of IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, New Delhi, and Center for Development, Communication and Studies, CDECS, Jaipur, we thank all of you for joining IMPRI #Web Policy Talk. And in our very special series, the State of Development Discourses, #Cohesive Development with Prof Sunil Ray, we are looking into these dimensions very carefully and also very critically. And for today's deliberation, a panel discussion on how to resolve unemployment problem in India. We thank all of you, those who have joined here and on Facebook Live, and later watch it on our YouTube channel and our different podcasts. We thank you all. And I would also like to extend on behalf of IMPRI and CDECS, special thank to all of our distinguished panelists, Prof Dev Nathan, Sonia George ma'am, Prof Bhagat, Dr. Lenin Raghuvanshi sir, Dr. Chandra, Sekhar, Shrimali sir, and also our co-organizer and host, Dr. Upendra Singh ji, for joining us here and imparting so much of knowledge on this very real topic to discuss. And we really wish that we all doesn't become very argumentative and work together toward strengthening our country, not only just focusing on Hindu, Muslim and other issues, but really focusing on making our country strong and toward eradicating this menace of unemployment and a brighter future for our country, India. Thank you, everyone. And a special thank to the moderator and chair of our series, as always, Prof Sunil Ray. Take care, everyone. It's almost dinner time, and have a good night. We look forward to having you more to contribute to our further deliberation of #Cohesive Development, the work which Prof Ray is trying to make a mark to make change and impact in our society. Thank you. Please take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Sonia.
you. Thank you, Sonia. Very nice. Thank you.